One of the most interesting questions that people have regarding the topic of sleep is dreaming. Why do we dream? A lot of literature has been written about what's the meaning of dreams. Different cultures have take a lot of meaning into your dreaming. But what do we know from different theories as far as why we dream? And probably the most well-known, at least in Western culture, is from Freudian theory. Freud's theory, psychoanalytic theory, relied on dreams heavily in terms of understanding their meaning and what they mean regarding our personality. Basically, according to Freud, dreams are symbolize wish fulfillment. Essentially, what Freud actually called dreams the royal road to the unconscious. In other words, the unconscious part of our personality is the part of our personality that we push out of our awareness, that we essentially do not want to consciously deal with. So we push it out of our consciousness. You know, these repressed thoughts and feelings, memories that we push out of our consciousness. These thoughts and feelings are essentially expressed in our dreams. So the dreams provide a safety valve to discharge those unacceptable feelings, to essentially express them perhaps in a distorted, dreamlike way. Then we can, rather than dealing with them in our conscious, awake life, they become easier to deal with in the dream world than they do in the real world. So essentially, according to Freud, those dreams, those events that happen in our dream, they are representing the issues that we are dealing with in our unconscious mind that we've pushed out of our consciousness. So, in the practice of psychoanalysis, many therapists use dream analysis to try to understand what is going on with the person. So they will, have the client describe his or her dreams, and the therapist would try to help the person work through the meaning behind those dreams. So when you dream, according to Freudian theory, there's the manifest content and the latent content. The manifest content, that is just the events that are going on in our dream as we would describe them. So if you woke up and were to write down a description of your dream, that would be the manifest content of your dream. However, the manifest content has symbolic underlying meanings. That's the latent content. And according to Freud, it's the latent content that's important. That's the hidden meaning behind what is going on in our dreams. So there are different books written about, what different kinds of symbols mean in different in dreams. We're not really going to go into that here in this lecture, but just understand that according to Freud, there's a hidden meaning behind what is going on in the events of your dream. That the different events, different images have specific meanings that are symbolic, and that the idea is to try to uncover what's the hidden message in our dreams. So that's essentially what's going on with Freudian theory. From another perspective, cognitive theory, information processing, basically our dreams are essentially ways of working out the information that we were processing during the day. So it's a way of thinking about what we learned that day and maybe decisions we needed to make, and just processing this information. So the information that we've encoded, maybe we process it in our working memory and working with it, but in our dreams. So it's a way in which we're actually putting all the pieces together from what we've learned during the day. And again, we talked about before about the advice of sleeping on it when you are trying to make a decision. That fits right in line with the cognitive information processing theory, is that not only when we're sleeping and we're kind of rebuilding our neural connections, when we are dreaming, we are putting this information together in an interesting, creative way, helping us solve problems. So in this case, we're interpreting our dreams not as a matter of trying to find what's going on in our unconscious, but rather to try to see what do we need to deal with, what are the lessons we're learning from the dreams. So in this case, in the information processing approach, you're not necessarily trying to find hidden meanings. You could just look at the events of the dream and just work from that, and helping you solve problems you're dealing with. So think about times where you might have had dreams that were based on things that you were worried about on that day, and you come about and dream about them. Well, that is consistent with the cognitive information processing theory of dreams. Finally, another theory of dreams is the activation synthesis theory, and this has to do with kind of like looking at it from the strict neurological, what is going on in the brain approach. And basically what's happening in the brain is a lot of random electrical activity, according to this theory. And this random electrical activity can result in perceptual images, perceptual illusions, perceptual hallucinations, I guess you could say. And that, so this brain activity is triggering, images and sounds and thoughts, but it's really just random activity. And when we dream, we're just trying to make sense of this random activity that is going on while we're sleeping. So the dreams are the kind of the creative stories that we build around just the random brain activity. If you were to probably talk about what evidence we have to support this, if you're thinking about any of us had dreams that are just so weird and just maybe images put together in a strange way, one image, one scene melding directly into another scene, all kinds of strange things happening. So if you had, boy, I had a really weird dream, maybe it was just your brain trying to put together a story based on just random neural activity. And that's what might make it so weird. Alright, now let's talk a little bit about sleep disorders. There are various disorders we'll go into today, but the most common one is insomnia. This is basically having difficulty either going to sleep, staying asleep, or you're waking up earlier than you want to. Basically, one of the biggest factors, one of the biggest causes of insomnia is probably stress. Everybody, you could probably think of like anybody here who might have had periods of time in which they may have had difficulty sleeping. It's happened to me before, and typically it's when it's in a particularly stressful time. But sometimes it can stretch for a longer period of time rather than just a temporary thing, and just day after day after day. Oftentimes with insomnia, the stress you have is about you not being able to go to sleep. So you go and lie in bed and you're feeling stressed right away when you're lying there. Oh no, here comes another night of me just lying there looking at the ceiling. Not going to be able to go to sleep. I'm going to be late for work tomorrow. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Well, that is stress, and that's not going to help you sleep. When you're under that kind of stress, physiologically, it is difficult for you to fall asleep. You've got to be able to get rid of that stress in order to fall asleep. So the stress that you have is causing you to have insomnia. The fact that you have insomnia is causing you more stress, and it just becomes a vicious cycle, and it becomes very, very difficult to get out of. So it's very common. Another very common sleep disorder is sleep apnea. And this is where people repeatedly stop breathing during the night. It's common in overweight men. Essentially what's happening is that the airway is getting blocked, and person stops breathing, so and snoring is a big big symptom of sleep apnea. Heavy, loud snoring. So you sleep, so you stop breathing during the night. You wake up, you go back to sleep. You may not even realize that you're doing it, but you're just not getting a complete night's sleep. So you can get there are various kinds of treatment for the CPAP machine, which essentially blows air into your nostrils, essentially clearing the airway, allowing you to breathe easier. There's also those breathe right strips that you can put on your nose, spreading apart your nostrils, so spread, for the increasing the flow in your nasal passage. That's really what's going on. Losing weight is a good way of relieving sleep apnea. Again, it's a matter of trying to clear out those airways. Okay, another sleep disorder is narcolepsy. And basically, when you have this condition, you're very sleepy during the daytime. You might, kind of have sudden sleep attacks and really just suddenly falling asleep when you don't want to. Oftentimes, you have people with with narcolepsy. They'll drop right off into REM sleep right away. And remember, in REM sleep, I said before that you're unable to move during REM sleep. You're complete. Your muscles signals to your muscles essentially shut off. So you're going to be limp, like this poor doggy here, who has narcolepsy, will just suddenly fall asleep in the man's arms. There's some genetics involved. There really is no cure, but there are some drugs that can reduce the symptoms and help you perhaps get a better night's sleep, and also kind of be able to deal with it during the day. Sleepwalking most commonly happens in children. You kind of grow out of it. But there are people who do it all the way through adulthood. It usually occurs in stage 3 or stage 4 sleep, so deep sleep, not the REM sleep. Why wouldn't it happen in REM sleep? Because in REM sleep, you are essentially paralyzed, so you're not going to be walking around in your sleep during REM sleep. There's no known cause, but again, different people. Some people will also not just sleepwalk, but also eat while they sleep. There have been some highly publicized cases of people who've actually committed murder while they were sleepwalking. They don't remember doing it, because oftentimes you wake up from sleepwalking, you don't remember having slept. Well, it's happened to me before. When I was a child, I was sleepwalking, and my parents told me what happened, but I don't remember actually doing it. So it's an interesting phenomenon. Now, REM sleep behavior disorder. This is when the person is actually walking around during REM sleep, which is not supposed to happen. The brain is supposed to suppress voluntary movement, muscle movements, but when you're acting out your dreams, and it can be causing a problem, especially with those vivid dreams that happen during REM sleep, and it's affecting men over 60 years old. Brain damage is related to that. So that's really what's going on there. Many people suffer from nightmares. These are the frightening dreams that wake you up. Remember, when you wake up, you're really scared, and you're able to remember all the horrible things that happened in your dream. So again, those vivid REM sleep dreams, they can be pretty scary sometimes. Night terrors are different from nightmares. But with night terrors, the child typically, it happens in children, and it typically is, the child doesn't remember what he or she was dreaming about. The child just suddenly wakes up and screaming, and then goes back to sleep right away. This obviously could be scary for mom and dad in the house. The child wakes up screaming, mom and dad come running, and then the child just lies down and goes right back to sleep. The parents are very confused about what is going on. Well, that's an example of night terrors, and that really is just a childhood thing.